Hello, welcome back, and we are today going to do a dessert type of recipe. It's like an apple cobbler. It's almost like a pineapple upside down cake, but with apples and more of them. I really enjoyed this, and my son does. My husband is not a sweet eater, and he does not like cake, so this was not his favorite. He kept saying, "Isn't the top supposed to be crunchy?" And I'm like, no, this is not an apple crisp. This is more of a cobbler recipe. It's not a crisp. So, but it was delicious. And I am going to say, I'm going to preface this by saying that this is not a 50-50 dish. So if you want some of this, make sure you pair it with some vegetables and stuff first. Make it a 50-50 meal. Don't just have this, or it might throw you off a little bit. And I want to say I have 8 apples here. You can use the apples that you like. I prefer like a Macintosh apple. Don't use a Red Delicious. They're just not flavorful enough. And sometimes those like Honey Crisp or Pink Ladies, they're just sweet. They don't have that flavor. But Macintosh has a good balance of tartness and sweetness that I really like in a nice baking apple. But feel free to use what you want. So I have apples here. I have, and we will put all the ingredients down below, so you don't have to write everything down. So what we have, I have 8 apples, and then I have a cup of flour, and I just used, I will confess, I don't make sweets very often, so I just use what I have on hand. You can use whatever flour you have on hand. I have a cup of flour, I have a half a cup of sugar.
Is that regular flour or whole wheat flour?
This is a whole wheat white flour, white whole wheat flour.
Okay.
Yep. I think I use King Arthur's is what I usually get. So, yeah. And then I have a half a cup of sugar, and this is just a regular granulated sugar. It's what I had on hand. I have 1.5 teaspoons of any kind of starch. This is tapioca starch, but you could use potato starch or corn starch. I have a half a teaspoon of baking soda here, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to use anywhere between a half a cup and 3/4 cup of soy milk. This is the brand we like. Just in case you're curious, it comes from Trader Joe's. I think you can get it on Amazon as well. Yeah. I think I've seen it on there as well, because it's just water and whole organic soybeans. Those are the only 2 ingredients, so that's why we use that. And then I'm going to put in a half a teaspoon of vanilla, but I'm going to tell you I use a half a teaspoon of just a white vinegar. I'm not going to add that right away. I don't want my apples to get brown, so I'm going to mix up the cake batter with everything except the vinegar. Then I'm going to peel my apples, put some cinnamon and sugar on there, put it into the pan, and then add the vinegar to the cake batter, because it reacts with the baking soda that is in the batter, and you want that. You want those bubbles, and you want that activation in there. So I'm going to wait till the end to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. Make sure you give us a comment down below. Hey, are you a crisp person or a cobbler person? And obviously my husband is a crisp person. He likes the crunchy crisp on top. Yeah. Me, I prefer cobbler, but I like cake. So here's the cup of flour, half a cup of sugar. Here's the corn starch. Actually, this is tapioca starch. Salt, baking soda. And I am going to add just a half a teaspoon of vanilla. I make my own vanilla, so that's why it's in this jar. You can order your vanilla beans on Amazon and make your own. You just use the best vodka that you can afford, and you put 6 to 8 vanilla beans into a container like this, and then you fill it up with vodka. Leave a little bit of room so that every day when you walk by you can shake it. And then I just add, when it starts to get down, I'll add a few. And then after, 6-8 months or so, I'll take a few out, take a few of the pods out. But you can see how many vanilla beans I have in there now, because I just add. Yeah, and you just shake it, and there you have it. And then you have your own. You know exactly what's in it. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to put a half a cup. It usually takes right between 3/4 is a little bit much, and a half is a little bit too little. But you want it to be not thick like a biscuit, but you don't want it watery either. If you don't like soy milk, you can use almond milk or oat milk. I would stay away from rice milk. Rice milk is just too watery. Yeah. I don't find rice milk to be good. Oh, see that? That's perfect. A half a cup is perfect. I must have had just a little less flour in here, I guess. But see, you want it, you want it thin, not like a biscuit, but you don't want it really watery. So that's perfect. So I'm gonna set this aside. I'm not gonna add the vinegar in it just yet. I am gonna get started right now, peeling the apples and cutting them up, and we will be back when I'm finished. So I have those 8 apples are peeled and then sliced. I sliced them pretty thin so that they cook quickly. I'm just gonna top this with a 1/2 cup of sugar. Use as much or as little sugar as you like, and you can use whatever sugar you like, really. Coconut sugar if you want. And then I am gonna add just a heaping, is this a whole teaspoon? Yeah. Heaping teaspoon of cinnamon. You can add other spices. I made this last week for my family, and I added a little bit of cloves, just a little pinch in there. And then I am gonna mix this up. Hang on, I'm gonna use this because it's handy. Get a spoon here. I'm gonna mix, oh, what a mess. Gosh, make a mess. And then I'm gonna add just a couple of tablespoons of flour. Let me get the cinnamon and sugar mixed in here.
I'll get the flour for
Thank you. That way, any liquid that the apples produce, they just, that's about a couple of tablespoons. Yeah, you can see I'm not used to measuring. I kind of wing it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't like the measuring system. You know, it doesn't satisfy me when I cook.
I know, but I try when I'm trying to make a recipe for this. I try to pay attention and what I'm doing.
And when you're baking, it's understandable that you follow certain directions.
So this is a Silpat. This is a non-stick. You can use whatever you like. I use this so that we don't have to grease the pan, obviously. But when you bake it, put something underneath it. That way when you're pulling it out, it's gonna be hot. And then we're gonna pour this in here. And then I'm just gonna move it around a little bit to kind of get it evenly spaced. It's not like a pie. I don't want a dome, a dome on top. I want it to kind of be evenly spaced out here, fill in the holes. Okay, now we come back. I'm gonna save that spoon. To our cake batter, I'm just gonna add a half a teaspoon. See if I can do this. Half a teaspoon of the, oh, that's a teaspoon. Okay. There, that's a half a teaspoon. Into the batter. I can see the bubbles coming as it mixes with that baking soda in there. And then we just put this on top. And now I have preheated my oven to 475. So that is going already. And this is gonna take, I wanna say 35 to 45 minutes. It depends on your oven. My oven at home, it took right around 45 minutes at 375. And the apples get nice and soft, and then that gives the time for the cake to cook on top. Like that. And I mean, you can smooth it out if you want. I kind of like it like that because then you have the apples peeking through, that kind of batter. And that is it. All there is to this. We're going to bake it 375 for about 35 to 45 minutes here. I will let you know the exact time on V's oven, and we will be back. Bye for now. Okay, so this has come out of the oven now. Can you see that? I don't want to tip it too much but it's nice and hot. You can see the apples, you can see some of the apples bubbling around the edge. This in V's oven took just 35 minutes was what this took. So make sure you keep an eye on it. Anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes in your oven. The cake is all cooked on the top and it's just a little tiny bit brown. And it smells amazing. We're gonna let this cool down for a few minutes before we get into it. But remember, go down below here and comment and let us know if you try this, how you like it. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share this with your friends. Whole food plant-based, but it is not 50-50. So remember, if you want to try this, make sure you have some vegetables or a nice salad first. And we will see you back here next week. Bye for now.